Greetings, humans! Lee Cronin's The Mummy. As within a review, this may contain spoilers. Damn, there was so much potential in this movie. The first half was great, the second half was below average. The story begins in Egypt and follows a family that is housing a sarcophagus. Within the sarcophagus is a mummified human that seems to have a supernatural force. The story then switches to an American family who live in Cairo, Egypt. The father is an investigative reporter who lives with his pregnant wife and their young son and daughter. One day, Katie, the young daughter, is kidnapped by the woman at the start of the film. The story jumps a few years ahead, and the American family is now living in Albuquerque, New Mexico. They receive a call that Katie has been found in a sarcophagus and is alive. They take Katie home, but her body and mind are in bad shape from being mummified. She exhibits erratic behavior and doesn't communicate. The father notices inscriptions on Katie's skin left from the parchment that she was wrapped in. He consults a local archaeology professor who translates the writings. The inscriptions describe an ancient demon named Nasmaranian who is kept at bay through a ritual mummification and the sacrifice of a human. For the rest of the story, Nasmaranian fully takes over Katie's body and wreaks havoc upon the family. The Egyptian narrative was intriguing and was the best part of the story. However, there was a lack of detail to this Egyptian mythology, and instead the story was more concerned with going the horror route, which ironically was the worst part of the film. The horror aspect dragged down the story, which played a major part in the second half of the movie. The shift in tone and quality of the story happened when Katie was returned to her parents. As mentioned, part of the reason why the horror element didn't work was because there was little to no explanation of what the demon or entity was. We learned its name, Nasmaranian, and that it needed to be contained, but other than that, we were given no information on its motivations. Are we to assume it wanted to simply cause chaos? Because that's all it did, really. If that part of the story had been explored more, I think this could have been a special film, and the horror aspect the filmmakers were going for would have come through automatically and felt organic to the story. There was one part of the story that really bothered me. This happened in the second half, and as I mentioned above, it was the worst part of the film. Let me give you some context first. Katie, before she was abducted, was in the Girl Scouts and was learning Morse code with her dad. When Katie came back into the family's life, she initially had a hard time speaking. One day, as her father is trying to communicate with her, she begins to make sounds with her teeth. He realizes that she is communicating via Morse code. The translation comes out to the name Layla. The dad searches through all the support letters they received from strangers after the kidnapping of Katie went public. This information leads to the home of the family that had been the keepers of Nasmaranian and the people who kidnapped Katie. My complaint about all this is that it implied that Katie was still present and trying to tell her dad who took her. This was completely ignored and forgotten for the rest of the story and tossed to the side in favor of sticking to the horror aspect. There was no pleading with Katie to see if she was still there while the demon was destroying the family. So those were my thoughts. What did you think of the movie? Leave a comment down below, subscribe, give the video a like, and see you in the next review.